I hope everybody's doing okay. Sorry that I haven't made one of these in a while. I promise I'm going to try a lot harder to get these out sooner. I had 2 secondary videos that I made recently, but 3 weeks is too long to go without putting these out. God willing, hopefully I can get 2 or 3 out this week. Now, this is 46. If you look back into the past 5 or 6 episodes, you'll see that around this time in the world, there's been a lot of very strong converging forces, all colliding in an attempt to make this antichrist morality system that we're living in now. So we haven't talked about Wicca in a long time. I have a long, very detailed video about Gerald Gardner, who started Gardnerian Wicca, and technically started Wicca while there's debates, and he could go into other people. That's in the book, so we're just gonna go with that. But this Alex Sanders guy was so popular that he branched off from Gardnerian Wicca and started his own rite known as Alexandrian Wicca. And we'll get to the differences. But in my opinion, Alex Sanders was much more universal to get this false gospel of Wicca spread. Girls were more inclined to go to his because just saying he was obviously a better looking guy than Gerald Gardner and was younger. But he earned the title of King of the Witches in London. If you watch these in order, then it's very clear that there's so much going on in this time frame. I would say the 40s to the 60s is one of the most prophetic times in the Earth's existence, but that's neither here nor there right now. So his magical name was Verbius. They all give each other magical names, and not only in magic cults, but also in things like Masonry, Rosicrucianism, Skull and Bones. You all get different names. Sometimes it'll be appointed to you, or sometimes you will pick it because you're trying to come up with something that has a particular numerical value. Like I said, founder of the Alexandrian Wicca, king of the witches. He was a medium, spiritualism, initiated in Gardnerian Wicca. Now, here's where we get a few different stories thrown around. He claimed that he was initiated through his grandma. So basically, he has this story about how he accidentally stumbled upon his grandma doing witchcraft magic, and because he caught her. She basically marked him as a witch and said she would kill him if he ever told anybody. But here's the problem. She was already dead by the time he was this age. But he continued to stick with the story. So, only one or two things may be. Either he's talking about a different person than his grandma and just saying my grandma, or he's just completely lying. Which either should be the case, but when it comes to what these people are capable of doing, I would say don't underestimate these people. They're very serious. They're not kidding around like people think they are. But we'll get more into that. So he was the founder of Ordine della Luna, High Priestess. in 1961, he gained the second sight, which is an older term for like ESP or clairvoyance, clairaudience, stuff like that. Now, there's a book that came out a little bit over a decade ago, For a Ferryman, The Life and Death of Alex Sanders, in 2010. And this writer states, says somebody called Medea initiated him and let him copy her Book of Shadows, pretty much just because she liked him or something. And his wife, Maxine, claimed Alex was a psychic, Alex Sanders, and they performed seances. Sanders claimed to initiate 1,623 people into Wicca and over 100 covens. Now, the Book of Shadows is a unique book that either the whole coven uses, or it will be a book that one singular person uses for spells. And a lot of times it'll be those ones that you see with those tea leaves stained on all the pages. Like if you go look at Lori Cabot's store, I believe it's in Salem, you'll see that there's books of shadows already made for people to start. And while this Wicca paints itself as a nature religion, I can assure you that it's actually much more than that. Alright, so a quick recap of, I think, episode like 12 or something. I explained how the Book of Shadows that Daryl Gardner published was wrote by Aleister Crowley, but he paid him a large sum of money to put his name on it. And also, he ripped off the he ripped off the motto, "Do what thou wilt." But instead of "do what thou wilt" should be the whole of the law, Daryl Gardner said, "Do what thou wilt and harm none." So they tried to paint this Wicca out as a religion that does not believe in anything bad, only believes in helping people, becoming one with nature, and that we worship a gentle goddess and a horned god. And in the modern day, most people don't think there's anything wrong with this. But one thing that I will say Anton LaVey got completely right, and I would say this is probably the only thing that the Holy Bible and the Satanic Bible agree on, is that black magic and white magic are the same thing. Because what a lot of people don't realize is these entities, these demons, these fallen angels, they can intercede and do miracles too. Now, it was said that Sanders could summon familiars, which is just old lingo for deceased spirits, but the Bible tells us what they are. They're familiar spirits. Unless if somebody has a relative that lost their humanity, and went too far down the dark road. I'm sorry to tell you this, but none of your relatives are here watching over you. That's a satanic deception, and one of the biggest ones, because we all want that feeling of comfort. Like, of course, I wish that I knew my mom was beside me or watching over me, but she isn't. And people have a hard time coping with that, and I understand. But people's lives have also become completely destroyed over an obsession of believing that they're talking to the spirit of their dead loved ones. That's something that we cannot play with because our emotions are just too powerful. Now, he claims he could do small miracles like heal warts, illness, and physical deformities. In 1974, Sanders claimed to be in 16 different secret societies. And here we go. Every time you have one of these popular black magicians, what always comes with it? The lodge. So, if there's really nothing sinister with this Freemasonry thing, I want a logical answer of why every single popular black magician ends up joining a lodge. Like, if there's really nothing so horrible that you all believe in, what is distracting these horrible people? But they just ignore it or act like you're crazy. He was a member of the Knights Templar, the Order of St. Michael, the Order of St. George, Order of the Romantic Crescent, used black magic for wealth and sex, used family in 1963. Okay, so Alex Sanders, he met a family that recently had a son that died, and through magic, Alex Sanders made them believe that he was their son that died, and through a mixture of his aides and through Alex Sanders, the king of the witches' magic, they let him move into this mansion, bought him whatever he wanted, brought him girls if he wanted girls, um, alcohol, drugs, money, pretty much whatever you can think of. And this went on for a very, very, very long time. Now, in 1963, Sanders studied Abramelin magic. Now, I've talked about this Abramelin before. So, in the 1400s, somebody that went by Abramelin the Jew, created these documents of very complex rituals, and for about 500 years, it was something that basically nobody knew about. Now, in the 1900s, Samuel Liddell McGregor Mathers published it as an official book. It's called The Sacred Magic of Abramelin. And it was one of the main rituals that Crowley partook in. That's why he bought that house. There's a ritual in there that takes 6 months. It's a complicated system with a whole bunch of different squares, but it's a very serious thing. And once you complete it, you have access to what they call your holy guardian angel. And that's another misconception. The Bible don't talk about guardian angels. There's angels that help people and may guard them. Well, we don't have an assigned guardian angel according to the good book. According to the bad book, we do. But let's continue. And once you get control of this guardian angel, you can have control over the Goetia, the lesser key of Solomon. Now, an angel told Sanders to get a job at Ryland's library so he could obtain an original copy of the Key of Solomon. Now, everything carries an energy. Every book carries an energy. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's neutral, sometimes it has the energy of a person, and always the original text is always going to be the most powerful. Like when Lovecraft published the Necronomicon, the original one was killing a lot of people. Then they reproduced another one that had a lot of it missing, and a lot of the same stuff was still occurring. But the original is always the most powerful if you're into this stuff. Now he was terminated for dismantling yeah, it was, like vandalization basically. Now his influences was the Goetia and the Life is Levi, which in the 1800s that was pretty much everybody's I guess you can say idol in a way. In the early 1900s, everybody was pretty much going by what he did and added a little bit of their own stuff, took away, changed. Now in 1968, he married Maxine, and her dad didn't like him because Alex was bisexual. Now, that's something else that I'll come back to. Basically, every single hardcore famous black magician of any kind, they're typically bisexual. They won't be completely straight and they won't be completely gay. And it's the same way with women. And the reason that's like that is because the devil loves confusion. While it's horrible to do anything with the same sex, he does not want them to even have the he does not even want them to have any type of comfort in knowing what they like. Now, Alex supposedly raised a dead man on camera because he was very famous for getting his picture taken, videos. He was very famous in the press compared to some of these other ones. Now, do I believe that he did this? Not particularly. Now, can a body be reanimated? Yes. If people have departed from the Lord God Yahweh so much that they just give their life over to Satan and become a black magician, they can raise bodies from the dead. It happens more so in like voodoo areas over in Africa, but it does happen. But this is what you have to remember: you can fake putting magically charged soul into the body, but it will never have the spirit. Therefore, it is still a dead body. No matter if you can get it to walk, talk, speak, have a memory, it's still just nothing. And this has been going on for a long time. Like Paracelsus, he was the first one to publicly come out with the homunculi, which that's too much to get into right now, but there is really weird stuff that people did have done before. Because like I say, don't underestimate these people. If it doesn't contradict the Lord, I would say take their word for it. Now you see a twist. In 1979, he wanted to make amends for using black magic. So this is how these people get tricked even more by the devil. They feel guilty for doing the bad stuff, and then the devil gets in their ear even more and tells them that if they just use white magic, then everything will be okay. It's unbelievable. So so after this, he began working with the psychic medium named Derek Taylor, and founded the Ordine de la Luna. The pair spoke to celestial intelligence. Celestial intelligence. Celestial intelligence. Sorry. With, I'm assuming, an ascended master. He's claimed to speak to disembodied spirits, and a disembodied spirit are the dead Nephilim from the book of Genesis and the book of Enoch, also spoken about in the book of Giants and Jasher and a lot of the other banned books. And now he claimed to speak to the demiurges. So now it always goes back to this thing. They'll walk you through their belief system, spin you, and most people, they know that most people, including Christians, have no clue what the heck a demiurge is. And because Gnostic unfortunately falls under the category of Christian, even though it's really not, it can be really deceiving. Now, if you watch these, you know what this concept is. So Gnostics believe that I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it's just too much, but basically they believe that we're on a prison planet and that the Lord God from the Bible is actually a villain that named Yaldabaoth, but Demiurge is the title for it, and that our souls are strapped here in a mortal body, and through secret knowledge we can learn how to release ourselves and go back to the pleroma which we came from begin with. It's stupid. The thing's an oxymoron. The Gnosticism nonsense, it falls apart if somebody can debate properly. But they make the system so complicated that a regular person can't debate someone into the Gnosticism. But I can if anyone wants to. Now, Standard also started the Order of Deucalion, a focus for Atlantean magic. And Merlin, he was big on this Merlin thing. And that's something else I need to get to. Because see, there's so many different forces that Lucifer has got in. Like, for example, like Merlin, you see him in the cartoons. Like these animators, these writers, these magicians, politics, doctors, very professional people. That's something that I'm really trying to get through with this series, or people that's wrote in famous books. That people from all walks of life are all using any type of chance they get to use this evil energy and direct it at God's people in one way or another. And not all of them know they're doing it. Some people think it's all innocent, but if they think that, they're not walking with God. Now, in 1998, after 10 years after his death, a coven claimed to contact his spirit. They didn't really have much more to say, but now I'll answer this again, because I know that's something that pops up a lot. Are these people living forever? Is all these side-by-side pictures of celebrities looking like pharaohs, is there something to it, or is it just people trying to make something out of something because they're suspicious or they just want to seem smart? I would say there absolutely is something to it. Because people in the Bible that defile themselves so bad, like the women that willingly slept with the Nephilim, they did not get to go to a resting place. They became sirens and various water stosions. And I can't speak if he did it or not, but it would not surprise me, because he was also into ceremonial magic, hermetic Kabbalah magic, and hermetic Kabbalah is a little bit different, because basic Kabbalah, while it's bad in general, hermetic Kabbalah is worse because it's focused on polytheism instead of monotheism. And pretty much if somebody decides to go to a certain, I guess you can say, level of ascension, I'm not going to explain it. I've explained this tree of life system, but once you go to a certain mark, you are cut off from the Most High. And these people that just, you can tell they just hate God so much, I think more people have done it than what people think. I think they've put the veil through people's eyes, but it ain't through mine. He was practicing Enochian magic, which I've described in detail. It came from John Dee and Edward Kelly. It's a very complex system. It was used in the Babylon workings, the Amalantra workings, and it's specifically to call down different angels and to have them do your bidding. It's also part of it's in the Satanic Bible. Thankfully, not many people have understood how to do it, because I honestly can't believe that all these grimoires are just laying around that anybody can pick up, but they don't. Now, thank God more people don't, but it's unbelievable to me. Nobody should do it, though, but I just can't believe that it's just all out there. Now it was a 3-degree system in Gardnerian Wicca. Like see another connection in Masonry, always degrees. Now they still did the Skyclad thing, which Gerald Gardner also did, but I put the question out there: did Gerald Gardner actually do it because it helped, or did he do it because, well, I don't know, Gerald Gardner was a nudist. Before he started the Gardnerian Wicca, he was a nudist. So I believe the Skyclad has came from perversion and not magical power. Oh yeah, now I was going to explain the difference between Gardnerian and Alexandrian. Now, Gardnerian is a lot more casual. There's not really as much that goes into it. It's a lot more plain and down to earth, not in a good way. And then Alexander's is a lot more eclectic. Like compare low shirts, high shirts, kind of same thing with that. He added a lot more ceremonial magic into it. Which ceremonial magic is when you're calling down these different deities, which he certainly did claim to do, and there's plenty of people that that said it's the real thing. Now, like I said, clairvoyance, that's what the second sight meant. And he was also a channeler and was known to put curses on people. Now, while you cannot trust these people, it's best to take these people at their word. Like I said, if it does not contradict the Bible or anything that you know that's true from God, it's best to believe these people. And this, to me, this sounds reasonable. If you believe in the metaphysical side of life, then you'll probably lean with it too. So something that doesn't really get brought up very often is that Alex Sanders claimed that he met Aleister Crowley when he was 10 years old, and that Crowley basically put a specific mark on him, basically marking him as the path to being a witch. And there's also a piece in the Witchcraft Museum that Gerald Gardner was a part of putting together. I can't remember what exactly the piece is, but it claims that it came from Crowley to Sanders. And Sanders was more of the driving force of what made young people want to get into Wicca. It was not, like, Gerald Gardner started, but I would say Sanders is what put this path really just zooming into the youth. And while these covens are not nearly as active as they was, there's been a replacement, and while the replacement thankfully is not spiritually as strong, it's still corrupting the youth. And what's that? Spiritism on their phones. Those phones can be used as devices for something to come out of it. That's why they're black like a scrying mirror. That's why people have to watch what they look at. And I would say even put a little bit of a tiny thing of oil on it every once in a while, because these screens do have power. And like I said, I'll be trying to make these more consistent again. I'm really sorry. God bless.